Hello and welcome to Gully Boys of Cricket, the voice of fans. Gully Boys is a podcast where fans can speak their mind and also keep share the trophy request to ICC alive. I am your host Prakash Wadhwa, and today we have Darshit from New Zealand and we have Sapan from India joining us. In this podcast, we'll be looking at the next 6 months of cricket. We have a couple of big tournaments. We had the IPL, which was scheduled to start. We have the World Cup T20 in Australia in October. And also we will expand more on the voice of fans subject, which we started in the last podcast. Darshit, last time we talked to you. So we'll talk more on that. As I said, we have the IPL and we have the World T20 in the next 6 months. Two big events. And both the events are sort of on hold right now. So Sapan, you can get us started. What's your take on the IPL? Is it going to happen? Is it going to be postponed? Or should it be postponed? Or should it be cancelled for this year? How do you see it?
From my perspective, I think IPL is, as you know, the biggest franchisee tournament across the globe. And that has itself started this franchisee cricket arena in all over the world. And that has never been succeeded. Otherwise, if there is no fan directly joining that IPL. So obviously they will have to put IPL on a hold. If a major crisis comes up where certain big Grand Slam events like T20 World Cup, also India is participating in Asia Cup, which is scheduled to be there in the September time. If that gets cancelled, IPL can get that free window, maybe a 30-day window. That's enough. But without fans, its IPL is like an Indian curry without the spices.
That's very well said. Darshit, you give us an idea from down under. You are in that part of the world. How feasible from this point right now do you see that World T20?
Definitely right now with this situation it's like not possible, and definitely even local fans will try to avoid enter into the stadium because of keeping a social distancing into the mind. It's a bit tough call that it's like in October it's going to happen or not. I'm sure that it won't.
Those are strong words. I mean, especially Sapan looking at the IPL, which should have been happening right now at this point, and they have not even called it off. They are just postponing it. And you, through that concept of using a different window to still hold that tournament. So I want to bring that idea as well. Is it really possible to have the IPL with only the Indian players this time? Does this provide an opportunity to experiment with that at all?
Yeah, that one aspect BCCI can think of, at least to make some good exposure for the local players who are at least getting this only opportunity to make their names available for the international team. Like, for example, if I give you some names, Kunal Pandya, Akshar Patel, these guys were popular because of IPL, not because of their domestic performance. So IPL, even not just like David Warner, Josh Butler, Ben Stokes, like people who are getting recognized within their own international team. It's like Indian players also who are getting recognized in our own Indian team. So I think yes, you got up a good point. Like BCCI should think about local players.
Given that India gets the situation under control, and we are not talking about any international mingling or traveling, I think that's a reasonable take on that. You can still have it, just play with the Indian players, at least have a shortened IPL.
You know that 2018, when the last auction was held, when CSK came back in, CSK and Rajasthan Royals came back into the circuit. So that was the last auction. So this is basically legitimately last year for those group of people who want to succeed. A special case I want to remind over here is Mahendra Singh Dhoni, because he was eyeing, not only he was eyeing, but even BCCI at some point of time was eyeing his performance in IPL to make a door for him or to just serve a plate in the Indian team. So that's from those perspective also, IPL is very important, and it should be held at certain point of time in this year.
That's a great point. If the IPL doesn't happen, if World T20 is in question mark, I believe someone like MS Dhoni, we may not see him again in the Indian colors.
Yeah, we might not be seeing 7 number jersey or blue jersey again.
Darshit, this is something you mentioned last time we talked about how without the fans, the game did not seem complete. The one game we saw between Australia and New Zealand before everything stopped. How about that idea? Because some players have actually, even Owen Morgan has said it from England, Justin Langer, Australian coach, said it, that if the situation improves, they are open to playing without the fans. And you can see there's a lot at stake for the players, for the broadcasters. What do you think about that idea now, knowing that that is possibly the only hope of getting cricket back?
Like what Sapan said earlier in regards this one, like Indian curry without the spices, it will be same for cricket without the fans. Because let's say fans are not there, to whom they will celebrate their achievement. Like if for example some player will make a century, to whom they will raise the bat and to whom they are going to show that yes, I did it for my team. And another thing is that cricket fans are attached with that with emotions. Each runs are attached with the emotions of fans, the cheer, as well as that giving a standing ovation on the good performance despite you're on the other side of the team or opponent team. So all these scenarios are including that yes, fans are lifeline for the game, for the cricket. If fans are not there, I'm sure that people won't bother to watch that game over the TV as well. Including the fans are adding a really good essence for the sports.
You both have said it so well. I mean, in your own ways. This is so basically that point is clear that without fans, the game would not have, or the atmosphere would not have the essence. And now I'm thinking about what Sapan was saying with that window and trying to still have the IPL. I'm trying to imagine the IPL without the cheerleaders, without the crowd. Sapan, do you want to add to that? Because it does feel, after listening to Darshit and, how he portrayed it, it does feel a bit incomplete, especially something like the IPL.
Without fans, it's not going to be easy for the cricketers as well. As Darshit mentioned, whom they will raise bat to. Even they would like to boo also from the crowd when the misfield happens or a catch is being dropped or something like that. And also, like you mentioned a point, what will happen, like those cheerleaders, with what emotions and what encouragement they will dance on the floor when Virat Kohli smashes for a boundary. Well, that can be managed by keeping 4 cheerleaders at the 4 corners of the ground, by keeping social distancing in the mind. But still, if no one is watching cricket in stadium, I think that will also impact the person who is going to look from the television eye, because even broadcasters will suffer, and especially this franchise cricket, as we were mentioning. It is all because of this entertainment realities.
True, and optics is important to the game.
The ex-chairman of IPL, Rajiv Shukla, he recently gave an interview to a local news channel. And he was saying that we are also looking for an opportunity to shift IPL from India to a part of the world where in future we see that coronavirus effect is getting lesser affected in the months of August, September. So Darshit is saying that COVID is in the control in New Zealand. So he can be ready that IPL match can be hosted at Eden Park.
There you go.
That would be really good chance then. Like Kiwi fans will be really happy to see, Globe player into the franchisee color and IPL playing in the New Zealand. Definitely it will be the really good scenario. But unfortunate that in time of August or September, weather is not supportive in the New Zealand. If BCCI or ICC allowing to give another extension like in October or November, yes, that's a possible chance for the Kiwi cricket to come back in the ground.
I forgot to add a point that when you asked me that can't you have the local IPL with the local players? Well, then what about the domestic circuit here, the Ranji trophies and the Duleeps and the challengers? Because that is getting scheduled in that specific window itself. So every possible tournament is getting hold, and they are running behind the schedule if now or never situation comes. So I think it's a high time at least BCCI should come up and boldly state that whether they are going to have IPL or it will be in 2021.
That summarizes the whole situation very well. Just like the Olympics has come out, just like the Wimbledon has come out. I think it's high time that BCCI comes out and at least says that this is the situation we're looking at. These are the realistic ways, that this is possibly July, possibly October, or not having it. So at least it's not that postponed term is no longer valid here. It's, we know it's not happening in the next 2 or 3 months. We're not there yet. We're not going to be there. Let's move our discussion to a different subject here. The Cricket World Cup final. Sapan, you are here for the first time. What is your thought on that?
I enjoyed it. I think this was one of the best World Cup final I have ever seen. After that 2011, when Dhoni hit a six and we won the World Cup after 28 years. Controversies were there. From my perspective, I think New Zealand was having an edge better towards the Cricket World Cup trophy than the England. But things were turned out to be different way on that day at Lord's, and Ben Stokes was having a last laugh.
And they are watching it again. Sky Sports is retelecasting that World Cup final, which gives us a chance to English people to reflect on it, have a balanced opinion on it, because at that moment the emotions were running really high because England had won it for the first time in 44 years. I think it gives us a chance to look back in a fair way. Hopefully, even their players can watch it with a more open eye at this time, as if it is the second time. They've won it once. If this was the second World Cup, how would they react to it? On the other side being New Zealand. What's your thought, Darshit?
This is a time for retrospect, because if even English people will watch the World Cup final again, they will feel like that despite lifting a trophy, still they are not dignified into the cricketing world. On the other side, being Kiwi fans, I must say that people would avoid to watch that game again, especially if you have read Ross Taylor's statement that I would never watch that game again in my life. And same for many club level cricket players as well in New Zealand. I had a good chance to chat with them. It seems like that they are cheated. Second thing is that they played as equal as England played in terms of runs, in terms of wickets, everything. Only difference keep them apart from the World Cup trophy, which is a boundary. And that rule has been changed overnight since after that incident. I'm sure that if on the other side, either it was Australia or India, the situation will be the different. Even Kumar Dharmasena umpiring decision will be the different as well. Fans can put their voice and send a message to ICC that whatever happened into that World Cup final is not right. Time to retrospect and time to dignify England and New Zealand both.
True, for something which is actually celebrated by all of us. Credits to the people of New Zealand and credits to how gracefully the team handled itself. That's what moved us. When we think of World Cup final, it's not Ben Stokes or Owen Morgan who comes in mind with the trophy. It's that smile of Kane Williamson which comes in mind. So
exactly,
that's what we need to look at. It's beyond. It's just more than the rule or the game or the result.
And that as a fans, we are not saying that New Zealand should lift the trophy. We are saying that share the trophy. Give both teams to dignify their victory, their effort, and their performance for the final. Fans will be happy as well. Their faith will stay intact into the game of cricket, as well as ICC governing body, because at end of the day, ICC is that administrative committee who runs these tournaments and all these things. If you are not coming with the fair decision, or you are not able to retrospect into your mistake, how can fans put a trust on you?
Here, one more thing which ICC should consider. When a match was tied in T20 World Cup 2016 2007 when that ball out was happened between India and Pakistan. Three unusual players bowled from India. So I think that type of things, because cricket is not the only game made for the batsman. If you want to hit something, you need a ball as well in your hand. So bat and ball should be speaking at equal terms. They should be treated at equal terms. No, I'm not saying this because I'm a Kapil Dev's fan and he was primarily a bowler. But if you look at the history of the cricket, if you look at the rule books of the cricket, sometimes you feel that this game is made for a batsman. It's fair enough. There is no negativity in that. But at least you should give a chance by adding some sort of innovation into the cricket. When you are talking about this DRS and spider cams and under the speech microphone, this kind of innovation, if they are thinking, this should be also considered. That bowl out is a very nice option.
There have been some very nice ideas as far as breaking the ties apart are concerned, but counting the boundary going back into the main match, which was tied, that's what led to the super over. So now you're saying super over also has no meaning, but we go back to the original match for which we had the super over in the first place. Super over is a T20 thing. It's not even for the ODIs.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
if you're going to have that rule in the ODI, some sort of breakout from the tie, it has to be a longer match. There have to be more bowlers involved, as you said. What if you gave it is a 3-over match where you have to bowl 3 different bowlers? So something like that. It can't be just dependent on one person and 6 balls when you have played the game for 8 hours. I want to touch upon a couple of other things related to that, because you both have led us there, which is the voice of fans. Now ICC in the past 10 days or so, they have put out a couple of times these World Cup final videos, and it has gotten a lot of heat back from the fans. It is very clear, no matter where you are from, except unless you are from England, you don't necessarily feel right about that result. The question is, are ICC leaders actually watching it, or is it just a platform to keep fans engaged? Are they really getting that voice back and reflecting on it or not? What do you have to add to that, Darshit?
Definitely, they have to consider fans as their prime candidate to listen their voice, because we all have seen that just one game without a fans into the stadium. Just imagine if faith is not there and ICC is not listening a voice of fans and not rectifying their mistake from what happened on 2019 World Cup. We might see that people are moving away from the game of cricket. If this is happening to time, cricket won't have a much charm into the larger tournaments like ICC tournaments. So definitely ICC has to be open. From my point of view, they definitely have to listen. They definitely have to consider all the possible option to keep the faith in the game alive.
Right, and ICC put out like one of their recent tweets was, what is one memory you would like to erase? Cricketing memory, and there were like hundreds of comments, just on World Cup 19 final,
Exactly. There are emotions that people are putting in their reply that we choose that I don't want to watch 2019 World Cup final.
I think the only champagne bottle was open in the England dressing room. And I don't think so Kiwis must have even drink the cup of water as well. Like as you said, at least put a 3 overs match. Things should be continued unless and until you get a final legitimate result. That should be the main thumb rule of cricket, whether irrespective of any format.
And any words from you on like your voice or the voice of fans, should that have a say? Do you think that should have a bigger role?
It should be having a bigger role, just like other sports. Soccer, you know that fans' voice is reaching out to the Premier League companies who are at the end of the day is organizing these Premier Leagues. So fans' voice do make sense, and they have their values. So it should be reach out to the stakeholders for ICC, and I'm not saying that it's not reaching out but it has not been converted into a retrospect which should be considered, like they will gather that up based on that fan poll. They will consider a meeting scenario or something like that, and they redefine the books and everything. But yeah, fan voice has been raised, and that is one of the reasons why this cricket game has evaluated over the years. Like we were just watching white cloth cricket in our parents' time. Then we saw Kerry Packer's night tournaments in Australia. Then we are the lucky generation actually. We have seen the dusk of Sunil Gavaskar. We have seen also Sachin Tendulkar in the same generation. So we are actually lucky in that sense. So fans' voice makes sense, but yeah, it should be valued more. You're right.
Tell us a bit more. I'm curious to learn a bit more. Sapan, you did mention you are a Sachin fan, and you mentioned Kapil Dev in there, Sunil Gavaskar.
India is having 130 million cricket experts. I'm very fortunate to see. I have seen Sunny Gavaskar playing his last matches. He turned the game on that Bangalore Eve in the Test match against Pakistan in '87, when ball was turning prodigiously. And if today, when I'm seeing that Indian bowlers are even struggling against Moeen Ali's and Ishodi's, like they are struggling against them. So I'm saying that, okay, is this the same generation who has seen Sachin Tendulkar and Sunil Gavaskar, who were just dancing down the shoes and they were hitting the ball out of the park? So I was used to keep my family members at their toes. If India needs to make, say, 10 runs in last 3 balls and someone is hitting a 6 like Dhoni, then I will tell my father, don't move a single inch. You stand wherever you were when Dhoni hit the 6, because that superstitiousness was cultivated from the cricket itself, and now I'm not seeing that in the next generation or the generation coming in the cricket.
I also feel the same, because there was a certain emotional connect with the game.
Yeah.
When Sachin was playing in the 90s and 2000s, there was that emotional connection. It was like you were playing. And once Sachin retired, was what, 2013, end of that?
2013 November.
Yeah, that was, I think, a really, really sad moment and end of an era. And I say end of an era because a lot of the other players whom we connected with emotionally, like Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, Virender Sehwag, they were all gone before him, Anil Kumble. So he was pretty much the last man standing from that generation of players. So it did feel like an end. And I can see a lot of like folks now, they don't get into test cricket, or it may not necessarily be the format. It could be about the heroes of the game.
I totally agree with Sapan that what he said, and it's relive all the moments which I was used to do in my childhood days. Whenever Sachin was playing, especially in the 1996 World Cup semi-final and 2003 World Cup final as well, that brings those emotions, become live as well.
So Darshit, any final words?
I would love to say two things to ICC, that in this situation, current lockdown situation, ICC doing a really good post on their social media account and creating some polls as well. Why not they are making a one poll of the cricketing 2019 Cricket World Cup final, who should deserving a trophy? ICC, you should try. There is no harm to create such a poll, because it's a social media platform. Let's listen the voice of the fans. And the second thing is that whenever they are going to meet in a person for ICC meetings, there is no rocket science. Definitely, Kumar Dharmasena made a mistake. So, please consider fans into the center of the cricket game, listen their voice, and try to fix and dignified both teams as a winner of 2019 World Cup final.
That's well said.
Yep.
That's well said. I want to pick on that word dignified, because that's what this is about. When you say you're the World Cup winner, there shouldn't be any questions asked, period. That's not the case with them. So it's good for them, for their victory to be dignified, which just happens if New Zealand are recognized. That's all it is. No one is saying that England did not win. And I want to, in the end, mention Joss Butler. He put up his World Cup shirt up for auction. Lovely gesture from him. Imagine if this thing was globally accepted. As you said, Darshit, about that poll. Look at this thing as how people see it. If this World Cup result was globally accepted, what kind of noise that gesture would make. And that thing got 80,000 US dollars. But I believe, the value, not just the monetary value, just the genuine human value of that gesture would have been a lot bigger if we were all on board with the World Cup result. So,
definitely.
Very well said, Darshit. And thank you, Sapan. Great points. And
My pleasure, man.
I hope, situation in Gujarat stays well and rest of India as well.
It is moving ahead a bit complicated, but things are under control. People are behaving well to the lockdown, but situation is critical, but we will win. Mankind will win over Corona for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, important couple of weeks or a month ahead. And I hope the same for you, Darshit, that in Auckland and rest of New Zealand, situation remains in control. I hope the same for all our listeners, that wherever you are, you stay safe, stay healthy, and follow the guidelines of government and the authorities around you. So this has been a great conversation. Thank you, Sapan. Thank you, Darshit. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Gully Boys of Cricket. We'll see you next time.